Welcome.
I got anything in my teeth?
Yeah, I don't know, me neither.
You got anything?
I don't think you got anything.
I don't think the resolution's high enough anyway. All right.
All right. Welcome to another episode of the Back Catalogue podcast. This is the podcast where we, and by we I mean me, Apple, my co-host / co-founder Vincent, we dive into the streaming services and we tell you, the listener and the viewer, what is worth it and what is not. Now, before we get into this today, I just want to say just a big shout out because here at the Back Catalogue we do quality over quantity, and where we get that quality from is straight from our subscribers. So shout out to everyone that has subscribed. All 24 of you, 3 of those, if not more, are actually just me and Vincent.
Yeah, one of them's my account.
One of them's my account.
Yeah. And
one of them's our burner account.
Yeah. Actually, no, I think the regular Back Catalogue account is subscribed to the Back Catalogue podcast account. Right.
And that's the burner.
And that's the burner.
So if you ever see people talking about the NBA and then there's the Back Catalogue, just know that's our burner.
Yeah. It might be KD.
I mean, KD, if you're willing to pay, we'll give you the Back Catalogue. We'll give you the Back Catalogue for a hefty price. Now here we are back. I never knew I didn't think that I would say this. I didn't think I'd say this, but we are in Oztember.
Oztember.
Is it Oztember?
Yeah, it's Oztember.
Ozploytember.
Ozploytember.
We're in Ozploytember.
Yeah.
Because we're back into Ozploitation today. I said to Vincent, I had a lot of things on my hands. He had a lot of things on his hands. And I said, we need something short so we can get it done. Get in here, get out.
So I actually picked the movie this time. Because normally you pick them.
Usually I pick them. But
usually you pick them.
Today
or our Patreons pick them. And that's a 7-day free trial. You can just go in there, 7 days, just tell us to watch all sorts of just...
smart films, anything. We'll do smart.
We'll do smart films, and then you can just dip out of there for free.
If we can access it, we'll do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And today's episode is brought to you by Canopy.
Canopy, I believe.
Canopy.
I mean, it could be Canopy.
Whatever.
I mean, it could be Canopy.
So if you got a library membership, shout out Canopy because you get movies. And this was the only place that this movie was on.
Other than Amazon Prime.
But I picked this movie because Apo, and you might hear this, in the Patreon episodes, but you were away.
I was away.
And you said, I get back late last night.
Yeah.
You didn't say, I get back late last night because that wouldn't have made sense at the time. So I thought, what can we do? And I'm thinking, if we're talking about golden eras, we're talking about, I don't know, the roaring 20s, the time where Marvel were just making hitters. And then we're talking about the Ozploitation era of the Back Catalogue podcast.
Yeah. And
so that's where I went.
You wanted to dive back into it.
I wanted to dive back into it. So this is honestly, I think this was the first movie. The other one was A Long Way from Hong Kong. That was another movie, but that was 2 hours.
Damn.
That was another one. But then this one, I picked this one, 50 minutes.
I didn't have that sort of time for 2 hours, but I had time for 51 minutes.
Because 50 minutes, we're in and out.
We're in and out. And let me tell you what we're in and out of, because we're doing 1972's very own Night of Fear. I'm going to give you the synopsis, and I'll give you I will hit you with the Rotten Tomatoes and all those sorts of things. I'm going to give you the 5.5 out of 10 on the IMDb, 14% on the Rotten Tomatoes. A young woman is taken prisoner by a maniac after her horse runs away. Sometime later, another young woman is forced off the road and crashes her car, then is stalked by that same maniac. We are here, and that's the movie.
That's the movie. And also, before I said for you to watch this, I didn't realize this movie has no dialogue.
Let me get into some facts, then we'll get into this movie. So this movie, if you saw the opening scene, because it starts off with a woman riding a horse, and this is
if we're talking we were here in this movie.
It was
because it just press play, woman riding a horse. There's no starting credits. There's no title screen. There's Nathan.
I had to keep rewinding it thinking, they put me halfway through this movie and I got to find my way back. I was there. I was at the back. Because you
didn't realize it was 50 minutes full.
I thought there was 50 minutes left on this.
Because we were using the same account.
We were using the same Canopy account.
We were using the same Canopy account.
Because sometimes when you're friends, you share a library card.
That's right. We go to the library, we look how smart, we come home.
Just don't tell the government.
Just don't tell the government.
Here's what happened. So you see this lady on a horse who was from a movie that we both enjoyed, which was The Long Weekend. It is the same lady.
Oh, was that the same lady?
It's the same lady. She just didn't have a horse in Long Weekend, so you probably didn't recognize her.
That's right.
Because if you stand next to a horse, you look majestic.
That's right. Just a whole different view of a person.
Now, she's being stalked by a man who...
That's why they got the Old Spice man on a horse.
because you didn't even realize it was him. And then he's in it chapter 2.
You look at him and he's on a horse and you go, I need whatever he has.
Take away the horse, what's he got?
Nathan.
Now, she's out there on a horse. She's doing horse things. She's riding. She comes across this guy. This guy takes her into this place. He essentially traps her in a room, and then he pulls on a lever, and then it hits this Brady Bunch opening. Like
this is too good. This is too good. Shout out Terry Burke. I don't know if it's got any relationship to the backyard, but shout out Terry Burke.
I mean, we don't talk about the backyard on this podcast. That's all I'm saying.
Was he cancelled?
Oh, he'd be doing all sorts of stuff.
Well, hopefully Terry Burke hasn't been cancelled.
I mean, Terry Burke could be dead.
Hopefully Terry Burke's backyard is in order.
In order, yeah.
But yeah, it felt like a sitcom opening.
So it was just other clips from this same film
that you were about to see.
Yeah. But done very quickly, and with you kept saying fright, and then saying like night of fear, then back to fright, then night of fear. It was the best part of the movie, I would say.
Let me tell you, straight off the top, this movie is hilarious.
Because you see in that single bit, you get a hint of what's to come next in this next maybe 49 minutes of the movie.
And the spoiler alert is it's not fright.
It ain't fright, but it's a lot of just people, or one lady just yelling, and then maybe almost smart, but they're not smart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we were there. But one of the reasons that this was set up in this way, Vincent, I'm going to tell you something right now.
Because you got facts.
Yeah, Fright was meant to be a 12-part series of different horror events around Australia.
With the same dude?
No, different people. It was meant to be just like different things. An anthology, if you will.
So Terry Burke had some vision.
I don't know if Terry Burke had the vision directly, but the ABC had the vision.
It was ABC.
ABC were involved in this. But then they said, hey, look, at the moment there's some things going on in the United Kingdom called Fright, so we can't do that. They also banned this movie upon release because it was too violent, but then later were able to actually re-release
This movie was too violent.
Back in the day, you see a lady, there's a skull.
What do you mean? We watched the kangaroos getting pieced up.
Yeah, I think it all came with the changing of the ratings.
Yeah, but this was after the R ratings.
But this was initially banned, is what they're telling me. So, like, someone from the ABC said, "Nah, brother, we can't do this. Please."
I reckon there was a plot against Terry Burke.
I think there was a plot against like people who play tennis and then just do intercourse
in the literal bush.
In the literal bush, like you're rich people because it's a weekday and everyone's at work.
Driving a Mercedes.
He's driving a Mercedes,
and if you see these and then see those. They can't be in the bush.
They can't be in the bush.
You know what I mean?
And like, not only just like the bush, you might be thinking maybe it's like, they got a tarp down, they got something. This is straight up on bush.
Because they roll over and they just got dirt and bark and all sorts on their back.
This is, as a rich man, and we're rich in heart and love, and we wouldn't be doing that sort of business on the bush.
But I mean, I wonder if that's kind of, they lived a life of royalty almost. They want to get back to the dirt. They want to get down to the literal roots and root.
Look, we'll say that, but there ain't no themes in this movie.
They know themes.
They ain't no themes in this movie. There's just a lady who can't drive
and can't speak
because
this is a movie where I looked at while I was watching because I'm going, they ain't saying nothing.
You thought maybe they were French.
I thought because the audio was a bit muffled. And it was from the 70s, so I'm assuming that they had equipment.
You thought they lost the audio and they just said, no, we'll go with it.
Yeah, I thought it was because some of the sound effects were a bit odd. So I thought maybe there was, hey, they lost the audio, but turns out it's dialogue free. But it's not dialogue free and makes sense that it's dialogue free. It's like hey, I've broken my car. There's a dude in the distance, and I'll just look at him, and then at some point I'll start yelling and just running.
Like nothing is said, but things are happening within their minds that they know that as soon as you see this maniac, you got to run. One of the funniest bits about this movie is, so this lady, she has the intercourse, and that's off course intercourse, and she's driving on the road, and I mean, like post intercourse, you could be driving and swerving. I don't know what's going through your mind, but she's swerving between the lanes, she's doing all sorts of stuff, and she almost gets run off. Well, she does get run off the road by this big truck. Now she goes down this hill. And she can't reverse her way back up the hill because like it's too steep or something along those lines. So instead of driving and doing a U-turn and just coming back up the hill with some speed, She just continues to drive straight down this into the woods, just deep into the woods.
And she's on a paved road, and then she goes on a not a paved road. So it's just dirt.
It's just dirt.
So she's in the bush. And I wonder if she's thinking like maybe this dude will be here and we can go for round 2. Maybe that's what she's thinking.
She thought this was the other spot that we were
But
going
I
to meet
mean,
at.
you're in the 70s. You haven't got the maps. You got the QBD, the directory.
You got the book.
You got the book.
Yeah.
You got the book. You're looking at that. You don't just keep driving because you drive. And I'm a man who I'll turn down the wrong street and I'll just keep driving. But I know roughly where I'm at.
But you might end up somewhere and you'll be happy with that. So long as there's not a
right.
maniac there who loves the rats and mice.
That's right. I mean, sometimes I'll be coming home from work. I'll say, there's traffic here. I'll just turn down the side street and I'll be taken for a ride.
And you just hope.
I'll just hope.
You know, the funny thing about this part is she almost has a car accident, right? And you know, a fatal one because the truck was coming at her. She rolls down this hill, and when she sort of comes to realize what she's going to do in the fact that she's going to drive straight, her face just looked like it's any given Sunday. You know, she started just driving. She's sitting there, she's smiling, she's looking around. She's not thinking, maybe this isn't the right space. She goes until she hits a literal pothole. And by pothole, I mean like she falls into a hole. And
She
her car
falls into one of
crashes.
those bear traps.
It
looks like.
Yeah. And then maniac stuff ensues. And she just starts running.
I mean, that's hilarious because the dude's just walking. He's just walking towards her and she's looking at him, and then at some point she obviously decides that man's the maniac. I mean, maybe because she saw the opening credits.
I think she saw the opening credits. She saw the
Brady.
on the horse.
She saw the Brady Bunch intro, and then she just starts yelling and getting into her car, and then
There were elements of this movie that I think are potentially great in other movies. So there's one part where, so she runs one way, right? And then when it gets dark, she runs back to her car.
yeah,
Oh, actually, even before that, she's in her car when the maniac is striking, and he's on the outside doing like ooga boogata stuff.
and then 100% he's just at the window and he's making faces.
And you know that is terrifying. And you know, there's a movie called Cujo. You ever seen Cujo?
Nah,
Like just a rabid dog, just like there's a car and he's like, I'm gonna eat the people inside the car, and they got to stay inside the car. Like Cujo, top 10 film.
yeah.
It's not that good, but it is, you know, it reminded me of this because you're in such a space of vulnerability where you can't leave this space. The safest space is within the car, but also it's the most dangerous space because as soon as that man gets in, it's over for you.
In Cujo, did he come back with a pickaxe and a shovel?
No, he just got a bit sloppy as he went on, like as in like he was rabid.
So he's lubricating the joints and things like that, and that's how he got in.
That's how he got in, yeah. So that part I thought was great. And then this lady runs out and she's just running through the woods and, you know, fight, flight or freeze or whatever you want to talk about. And she's fallen over. She's like almost fallen asleep, and then she keeps running. And then she makes her way back to the car.
No, before that was one of the best scenes of this movie. She's in the bush and she just sits down at some point, which I mean, like you're tired, you freeze for a bit.
Freeze.
And then Mans comes out of nowhere and he's there and he grabs her and then they have a bit of a scuffle. She falls back and he just stands there and he's just making like, oh. I'm telling you. Terry Burke didn't set out to make a comedy, but he absolutely made one.
Terry Burke made a comedy, and the fact that they didn't put the dialogue in it made it a comedy. Like if he said, you know, something along the lines of like, I'm going to get you, like that wouldn't have been as funny as of him going like, like Woody Woodpecker style. So there's a couple of things she does wrong. One, she gets back to her car and she ain't driving, she ain't just running up the hill back where she came from. Like she knows that there's a road where she came from. And I know, look, you can talk about fight, flight or freeze, but she's done all three of them and she hasn't worked out which one's right. She eventually gets into this house where it turns out like Mans has set up a trap. He set up a mouse trap for these people. And then
And the mouse isn't the one getting trapped.
Yes, exactly right. And then she has a dream about Smart, and then the movie ends.
And she gets eaten by rats.
I know she gets eaten by rats, but really, like, she has a dream about Smart, and then, like, she wakes up, then rats come in.
That's hilarious, though, because there's just so much of this movie that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, you know, if you look at it the perspective of this is a 12-episode series of just random crazy things happening, fantastic, right? You make this 30 minutes like scary, grizzling tales for gruesome kids, and then you leave. But this one it's now unfortunately just a movie on its own. It's standalone.
It's standalone.
It's standalone. Let's talk about the things that we got to say about this movie. There's smut and then there's rats. Like the audience.
It is funny. Man's just got a rat that he carries with him, and then when he's gone, all right, it's time to be a maniac. I'm going to attack this woman in a car. All right, into the pocket in my overalls.
And it's funny because he's got a live rat in his hand.
Yeah.
So he can't just like plop the rabbit in. He's like maneuvering the rat into the thing. And I mean, the rat's in. It's having fun as well. When you're watching this movie, because you chose this, and you're a man that like, you don't want to watch movies that will make you feel bad. When you started to see like smut and like rats come up, were you thinking I've chosen the wrong movie here?
At the start, when
Brady Bunch business happened?
Not when the Brady Bunch business happened. At the start, when that did concern me
because there was clips.
There was clips.
Yeah.
The first part was when the first lady on the horse, and then she's not on the horse.
Man, I'm itchy as hell.
You're itchy.
Dude, I'm like too close to this. Let me just.
It must be the rats.
It might be the rats.
The lady on the horse, and they're not on the horse, and then she's getting attacked at the house, and he's starting to like rip clothes off. I'm thinking, nah, this is I've made the wrong choice.
And then he's doing like Woody Woodpecker laughs.
He's doing Woody Woodpecker, and then he just chucks her in the thing
in the rat pit, which we later find out is a rat pit.
Yeah, it's a rat pit, and there's levers, and then there's a cat. Somehow, I don't know what the cat does. Does the cat make the rats go out? I don't know what.
Does the cat get fed by like any leftover meat goes to the cat?
I don't know, because he was feeding the cats with it just looked like assorted meats,
like with blood on it.
With blood on it.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's a funny thing about like maniacs in the woods, like that genre of movie, and especially this maniac in the woods. Yes, I know he can go out hunting and whatever and do all those things. But this guy has a gun with bullets now. He's got a gun with bullets.
And he shot a horse.
He shot the horse. He's got working, machinery in his house that probably needs some fixing. He has the means to do these things. But also what he needs is an opportunity to go into the city to like get the means. A maniac like this ain't going into the city.
Yeah, but did you see him at the end?
I know he's talking to the police, talking about like, hey, it's all good, brother.
He's got a nice shirt on. He's just feeding his chickens.
So you reckon he's going in like chicken style to the like he looks like he is when he's feeding the chickens.
Yeah.
He goes in, he goes, ha 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 ha. May I buy 5 bullets?
No problem, Woody, sir.
And it could be Woody, man.
And it could be Woody.
Is there anything from this movie that you will take away and say like this is the exploitation era? Like does this meet the statistics of the exploitation era?
I mean, I think so.
I mean, it does.
I think so.
It just it touched on the smart tick. It touched on being an Australian film. There was a little bit of Australian accent for the one radio presenter that we heard.
That's right. That was the only actual dialogue in the film.
Horror elements. Making you feel like you're unsafe.
People having sex in the bush.
I mean, that's Australian. That's
Australian.
You got cricket and you got having sex in the bush. That's the Australian pastimes.
Also, they were so bad at tennis. They were so bad.
I think you're going to say like they were so bad at intercourse, and you're going to like give them some pointers.
I was giving them some pointers. I mean, number one, don't do it in the bush.
Don't do it in the bush. But if you're bad at tennis, but like what you're doing after is what you're doing after, you can be as bad at tennis as you want. You're not focused on the tennis.
But like Thanasi would never. You know what I mean?
Thanasi would never. Is there a rating that you could give this?
I think this has got to be unrated as well.
It has to be unrated.
But I'll say one thing. There's going to be a scene that just sticks in my mind for I'm going to say for eternity, and that's going to be that dude in the bush, and he just
at the end.
No, not at the end.
Like the rat bit.
Not the rat bit in the middle when he grabs her and then they fall back and then because it just slowly zoomed on his face and he was just making those noises. Jeez, and like then they gave him 5 bullets.
I mean, they gave him 5 bullets, and there's one thing that I got to say to you right now, Vincent.
Hey, tell me
if this man went to the city and bought like 5 bullets, they would say that was Night of Fear, and this being the back catalogue.
Talk soon.
24 subscribers.